Hello! I have been having so much fun with this St. Patrick's Day stuff. I'm going to be showing everything I did in that little video clip, and I'll start with this. This was a super easy card, just some little shamrocks glued onto the front, and I started off with a 4¼ by 11" piece of the dark green cardstock, scored it at the 5½ inch mark so that it would fold in half, and I used to wonder which way to bend after I had scored, and the score line goes on the outside, if anybody was wondering the same thing. Using the Birch Press Design Maxwell layers A and B, I just glued them together, and then once those were glued together, I took a scrap piece of gold cardstock to create kind of a background along one of the rows. So once the gold cardstock was there, I went ahead and cut out the Lucky Charms dies by Memory Box, and I just started gluing them on. And these dies cut 5 at a time, and there's 3 different varieties. There's a little 4-leaf Lucky Clover, and then 2 others that are in there. So I just went and didn't position them the same on the way down. I just laid them in at different angles and just made a little variety there for an interesting background. I continued putting the shamrocks in each square all along the row there, and there were 2 that I did not put in originally just because the large shamrock was going to cover them. But this card could be cute without that large shamrock too, and so I just wanted to show what it would look like if the card was left just in a very simple form. So the next step was just to glue the 2 pieces together. And then once I did that, I was able to start working with the larger shamrock and get that die placed onto the card. First, I needed to take out the little pieces that were the negative spaces. And I wanted to show you how cute those negative spaces could be, like on the front of an envelope. They look like a little shamrock and they're just adorable. You could just cut out a little stem for it and it would be very cute on an envelope. On this little shamrock, the gold is primarily what's going to be shown. However, the very edges of the gold shamrock are not going to be glued down, just the center of it will be. So I wanted to create a finished off base that looked good if the edges were lifted up. And so I just basically used a green and inlaid it with the lighter green. This created an underneath base. So then I just glued the center part and the stem of the gold and matched it up with the base and set it under some weight to let it dry. And while that was drying, it was time to make the inside card with the quote. And I use a MISTI here, and I usually just stamp onto a scratch piece of paper first to make sure that it's straight. And amazingly, it came out perfect the first go round. Usually I just kind of mess with it a little bit until it's perfect, and then I'll do the stamping. But with the MISTI, it allows me to do a second stamp with the black if I need to. And I could have done embossing here afterward, just because the MISTI keeps everything in place. I could have gone over with some Versamark ink, but I didn't think it was needed in this case. The main thing I watched out for was just when I was pressing down on the MISTI to make sure that I was only pressing in the very center so that no extra ink got over to the sides. And then I just glued it in. This was actually the pinpoint rectangle layer, the second largest out of them. And it just created a really nice frame to center that little piece inside the card. I could have left it how it was, but I thought after I got looking at it that it needed just a little bit more balance. So I used some extra die cut pieces sitting around from the Maxwell Layer B cut that I had done, and I just layered in a few of the squares. Didn't want very many filled in, just enough to give it a little bit more balance there. And then I thought one little sequin would be adorable in the center, and so I put just one in. I put it under some weight to dry so that it would dry nice and flat. And that was it. Next video, Erin Go Bra, which means Ireland forever, and Lucky Scratch Off messages in cards. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.